Breaking news coming in from Hamburg at the G20 summit. Prime Minister Modi has raised the issue of terrorism, the Lashkar and Haqqani, the Jaish and the Haqqani network at the G20 leaders retreat. India's Prime Minister, remember, was the lead speaker and the theme was terrorism. Prime Minister Modi has led the way on one of the gravest issues of our times and is the lead speaker on the theme of terrorism at the leaders' retreat. Modi has described terrorism as the biggest challenge, and he's brought up the Haqqani network, the Jaish and the Lashkar and Haqqani, all terror networks funded, created and nurtured by the Pakistan state. Prime Minister Modi is the lead speaker. It couldn't have been more appropriate given India's place in the war against Pakistani terror. Let's go straight across to India Today's executive editor for more on this. Gaurav, Prime Minister Modi mentioning the Haqqani network, the LET and the JEM in his speech at the leaders' retreat at the G20 on terrorism, where he is the lead speaker. What else are you hearing, Gaurav?
Shiv, it's a big speech where the Prime Minister has hit out at the safe havens of terror without naming Pakistan. He's spoken of how cross-border terrorism is a big threat, and this is a threat that not just India faces at the G20, considering its NATO forces that are at the receiving end of the Haqqani network in Afghanistan. The Prime Minister told them how there is need, one, to ensure that terrorist forces are not incentivized, clearly indicating that Pakistan gets benefits out of the United States of America without taking action against the Haqqani network, and there is a need to wipe out terror safe havens to ensure safety of people in Afghanistan and in India. So in one breath, he spoke of the Haqqani network, which threatens the NATO forces in Afghanistan, and Lashkar and Haqqani and Jaish which pose a threat to India. And the fact that he was the lead speaker is indicative of the fact that the world is now coming around to India's stance on Pakistan-sponsored terror in the region.
Absolutely. Let's go across also to Geeta Mohan, who's our foreign affairs editor and is with us live from Hamburg. Geeta, what else are you hearing about the words spoken by Prime Minister Modi right now? A very, very aggressive, hard start on terrorism.
Well, that's right. This was the leaders' retreat where the statement was made. Haqqani network, Lashkar and Haqqani, Jaish all figured, expected a very strong statement, and the Prime Minister really delivered on that very statement, Shiv. We have been discussing the theme and focus of the leaders' retreat was terrorism and counter-terrorism, and India was made and chosen by the G20 leaders as the lead speaker. But more importantly, it was on the sidelines of that leaders' retreat that a pull-aside happened. What we're given to understand is that when a range of issues were discussed, as being said, the border tensions between India and China did come up during talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Xi Jinping. That's the big story. Whether it's going to end up and ensure de-escalation is something we'll have to wait and see. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in no uncertain words, made it very clear that if terrorism has to be fought, it has to be fought on all ends, and there are no good or bad terrorists.
Absolutely. Gaurav, you know, where do you see... Gaurav and Geeta, we're going to move on from this story right now. We understand that we'll be getting more updates on what the Prime Minister has said.